considered. But, you know, to be able to say, here's a capital project, here's how it aligns to 7 different community priorities and 5 different attributes. I don't think there's any better way to try to come up with objective scoring of a capital project, but not to say that a quartile 1 project is just a slam dunk and you need to go ahead, or a quartile 4 won't happen. There's other reasons that it may or may not, but having that as the first set of data is just so important.
I would love for you to go further into the capital side of things. I mean, I think that is a big step that you took that not everybody does. Most organizations certainly begin on the operating side, and some continue to apply this methodology to their capital investments and their capital plan. Would love for you to share your experience, how you went about it, and how it's working out. And I loved your perspective on, quartiles are just one piece of information among many others that are vital in decision making.
One piece of information, but it seems to be the piece that people attach on to as kind of that first thing. So capital wise, we did the exact same process. We had individual departments who were responsible for capital projects score all of their 10-year, we do a 10-year capital plan. So they scored all of their projects in the 10-year capital plan. So probably, 50, 60 different individual projects, brought in that peer review team again to do individual results or individual attributes to score them as the peers. And then we just simply went through the software and resultant of different scores and different quartiles. So it provides a really cool data set. The quartiles are a little bit, because the way that the quartiles 1s and 2s, so you'll see a quartile 2 program and you go, how did that score quartile 2 and how did this one? Because they're seemingly different. A reinvestment in an existing recreation piece of infrastructure versus building brand new. So but again, you got to look deeper and you got to go to the story behind the individual scores. What I find most fascinating, because we've done our capital projects, capital budget already. So we separate out our capital budget prior to operating. So we did our first review of our capital budget and capital plan with council on the 1st of October. We won't do our operating until November. But great conversations, because they're going, how is that possible that those two scored the same in the same quartile? When, but then it questions, well, maybe we need to look a little closer at our results and how we've defined our results as elected officials, because maybe they aren't producing, or maybe we haven't been clear enough as to what infrastructure really is as a result. And, should there be a stronger emphasis on reinvesting in existing infrastructure? So great conversations. And I think that's probably the other important piece that we want to talk about, is just the conversations that start because of the quartiles or because of the data with either capital or with programs.
Diane asked a question regarding capital and the interplay between the capital projects and the operating programs that support the capital projects. It made me think really quickly. The city of Shawnee, Kansas, a couple of years back, did something similar in terms of their fleet replacement plan, where they said, okay, here's our entire fleet replacement program. Now let's look at individual programs who use the vehicles and question, are we shrinking any of these programs? And if so, what is the impact on our fleet replacement? And so one of their examples was an approach to either shared services or a lessening of services on their garbage collection program overall, and how that had a massive impact on their replacement of the garbage trucks overall. That was where my mind went. But John, how did that play out? Or did any questions come up as you're evaluating capital projects and the ongoing operating programs that support them?
Yeah, if anybody's interested, like our capital budget documents on the website, so just City of Fort Saskatchewan, so it does show what we produce. So each of those individual capital projects was then tied back to programs as well. So you did tie that back within the assessment. Some of them obviously are going to cover just about every single program. So if you look at a major rec facility or a swimming pool, it's going to encompass multiple programs. So tied back, but not strongly. I don't, I don't necessarily think it was a strong link back to individual programs. It was intuitive. It was obvious in most cases.
Sure.
But the biggest one, one of the ones we had really interesting that administration had to present is we did have a quartile 4 program that we recommended actually jump the queue and even go into 220 because of all what I described, all of these other factors, in that there was a provincial government from St. Albert and Lethbridge will appreciate the very restrictive provincial grants that have come up over the last couple of months. And it was a transfer station enhancement that was there, but a lot of it was for reasons and rationale outside its alignment to priorities. Number one and first and foremost is somebody else is going to pay for the whole thing, and it's one of the only projects that we have that's going to fit. But it was also interesting in that we don't necessarily within our current results have a strong emphasis on an environmental result. So it wasn't necessarily hitting that. So you start to see reasons as you digged into the data about why the score was what it was, why it might have not scored higher than quartile 4. So that other factors, I think, is another message that I really try to emphasize with people. It is important, it's critical data that we have, but we just don't use it alone to make these, these very large decisions. There's other things that come into it.